original people of what is now the city of Detroit in the state of Michigan. And the largest groups were the Odawa, we know them as the Ottawa, the Ojibwe, the French would interrupt that, the Chippewa, and the Potawatomi, you may know them as the Potawatomi. These are the three largest Native American groups in Michigan and in Detroit. They're not the only ones, they're just the largest groups. And they are the Anishinaabe people, or the Anishinaabe. They were already here. Their settlements were mainly on the river. They fished, farmed, hunted at the riverfront. When the French arrived in 1701, led by Antoine Lomé de la Monsieur de Caillac, we say Cadillac. This Frenchman is here for the fur trade, and he builds a fort down from where we are, west of us, before you get to that other ship you see down there, that smaller cruise ship, not this big one right here, but the smaller one down there. Before you get to that area, you have reached the area where his fort was. He named it Fort Pontchartrain du Detroit. And Pontchartrain, of course, is the wealthy nobleman from France who's financing all of this. So you know you pay to get your name on it. So that's who paid for it. That's why it's named that. But du Detroit is this river. Detroit is French for the strait. And the Detroit River is a strait. It connects Lake St. Clair with Lake Erie. All right, so these two larger bodies of water are connected by Detroit, the strait. So the French are here, they're running the fur trade. But the French, when they come here in 1701, they're here for the fur trade, but they're knee deep in a different trade, the slave trade. So the French bring slavery to Detroit with them. So when the French come, slavery comes, right? The British take over Detroit. They defeat the French in the French and Indian War, also known as the 7 Years' War. Now they're in control in 1760. Well, we already know what the British are doing in the 13 colonies on the eastern seaboard, slavery. So there's more slavery here when the British take over. But if you have slavery, you have resistance. You have people fighting against it. You have people breaking the tools, burning the crops, refusing to work, putting glass and poison in the food of the people that are enslaving them, running away, and fighting slave rebellions. All of these forms of resistance are happening. And Detroit is going to be a haven of resistance because much of what will later be known as the Underground Railroad, much of its connections are here in the city of Detroit. Well, one reason why that is because of this river. This river is an international border. On the other side of that river is another country, Canada. Canada ended slavery before the United States. And that's going to be important in understanding Detroit's role on the Underground Railroad, because crossing that river means you're in a country outside of the fugitive slave laws of the United States. And so the fugitive slave laws of the United States do not apply to that other country. So that's why Detroit is important, because making it here means that if you feel you're in danger, you can cross that river and go to another country where you're outside of the purview of the United States fugitive slave laws. And that's really going to become important in 1833. 1831, 2 enslaved people escaped from Louisville, Kentucky. You guys went to Maysville. You were in Maysville. One of the people, Thornton Blackburn, is enslaved in Maysville by the Murphy family. Well, the Murphys rent him out to a store in Louisville. So they send him to go work at a store so they can get paid for his work in Louisville. In Louisville, he meets a woman, Lucy. Her name was Rutha back then, but she'll change it when she got free to Lucy. But her name was Rutha, and they fall in love. By all oral reports, Lucy Blackburn, or Lucy, was foreign. F-O-I-N-E
right.
exclamation point. Now, if y'all don't know what that means, there's fine
Right.
and there's foreign. And it means she's very beautiful. Oh yeah, some people do spell it with a PH, you're right.
Yeah.
Some people spell it with a PH, but she is foreign. And I'm sure that helped Thornton fall in love. But at the other end of that is her slave realizes how much money he can make off of her beauty. He sells her into what we would call today human sex trafficking. He sells her to be a fancy woman. And of course, that is sexual slavery, where the slave owner makes the profits from the forced prostitution of the enslaved woman. That's what she's sold into. She does not want to live that kind of a life. The man that loves her doesn't want her to live that kind of life. So they escape. She never lives that life. She's sold into it, but before she ever is forced to do it, they gone. They out of there. And they make it here to the city of Detroit. They escaped on July 4th, 1831. That was their Independence Day. They escaped, made it here to the city of Detroit. He's a brick mason, she's a seamstress. And they're using those skills to be business owners. These enslaved people aren't just unskilled labor. All they can do is pick cotton, or cut cane, sugar cane, or plant tobacco. That's not their only skills. A plantation is a factory. And what it needs is skilled laborers. You need people who can do landscaping, people who can do brick masonry work, people who can do woodwork, people who can do blacksmith, metalwork, taking care of the animals. All of the people who are doing these are skilled tradespeople who aren't benefiting from their skills. Slave owners are benefiting from the skills until they get free. When they get free, you have black businesses starting wherever these black people get free. And so they started business. They're making a life for themselves right here in the city of Detroit for 2 years, unbothered. But a relative of Thornton's slave owner comes to Detroit on business and sees Thornton walking down the street. What are the chances? Now, he don't go grab Thornton. He don't say, hey, I'm taking you back to my brother-in-law because you ran away. I'm not taking, he don't do that, because if he had done that, he would have got those hands. So he didn't do that. He went back down south, told his family what he saw. They went to a judge, got a writ, came to Detroit with that writ under the auspices of the 1793 Fugitive Slave Law. The judge has to help facilitate their capture. So the judge says, okay, go to the sheriff and deputy, tell them I sent you, and they'll help you. They do. They have to pay the sheriff and deputy $50, and they capture Thornton and Lucy Blackburn and put them in the jail about a mile away from where we're standing, a mile north of where we're standing. There was an old jail in the city of Detroit. They're going to be held there until a boat comes up this river. So they held there from Friday to Monday. Monday, the boat is supposed to come up this river, take them back down to Ohio, and then wagon them back to Kentucky. That's the plan. But black people in Detroit hear about what happened to Thornton and Lucy Blackburn, and they have a meeting at the home of Benjamin Willoughby. Benjamin Willoughby is a free black man, very prominent, very successful, and very respected. So he's a leader in the community. So they're meeting at his home. He's a leader at this meeting. But he is not the only leader at this meeting. There are other leaders, and I want you to know two of them. One of them is named Caroline French. Caroline what? French. The other is named Tabitha Lightfoot. Tabitha who? Lightfoot. These two black women are not just serving tea and cookies at this meeting. They're like, hold on, that's our friends. We got to help free them. They're leaders at this meeting. Yeah. They're like, we're going to help free our friends. Whenever black people have made progress in this country, whether it's the Underground Railroad, whether it's the Civil Rights Movement, whether it's the voting rights movement, whether it's starting businesses, starting churches, starting schools, anytime black people have made progress, black women have been at the forefront of that progress. When the history happened, women are doing all this stuff. When we tell it, men did it all. That's how we tell it. We got to go back to the history, look at what really happened, and we'll find all these women were doing all this stuff. And we've just been leaving them out of the story. All right. So these women are like, hey, we gotta get our friends free. They're coming up with a plan. That is Friday, June 14th, 1833. Saturday comes, they still working this plan out. Sunday, church. These are church people. They go to church on Sunday. After church, they go down to the jail to visit Thornton and Lucy Blackburn. They're like, okay, coming to visit our friends. Everybody that comes to visit Thornton is turned away. He is not allowed to have any visitors. They have him behind bars, in shackles, with guards standing outside, and no visitors. They're so afraid of this black man. They don't want him to have no visitors. They got him behind bars. They don't even think the bars are enough. They got him in shackles and chains behind the bar with guards and no visitors. So worried about him. But Lucy, this black woman, they're not afraid of her. She's in jail, but she don't got guards outside the door. She ain't unshackled. They're not worried about her having visitors. They allow her to have visitors. They're not afraid of this woman. Big mistake on their part. Caroline French and Tabitha Lightfoot go in the jail cell with Lucy Blackburn. While in the jail cell, they're praying with her because they believe that prayer changes things. Yes, they brought her some food because they knew she wasn't eating well in that jail. They're like, that jail food is horrible. I know you ain't eating. Jail food is horrible. It's still horrible to this day. Don't ask me how I know. But while they're feeding her and praying with her, Caroline French switches clothes with Lucy Blackburn inside of the jail cell. While all the attention is on Thornton, she switches clothes. And when the sheriff comes to the cell and says, gals, get out, visiting is over. Tabitha Lightfoot walks out with Lucy Blackburn wearing Caroline French's clothes. To the sheriff, all these women look alike, he can't tell the difference. They walk right by him, he don't even know. They put her on a boat, she crosses over to Canada, she is free. The next morning, Caroline French says, yoo-hoo, Mr. Sheriff, guess what? I'm Caroline French. I'm not Lucy Blackburn. I switched clothes. Remember, I visited her yesterday. See, yeah, that was me. I visited her, and when you weren't looking, we switched clothes. And she walked right by you, and you didn't even know. Our plan was to get her to Canada, so by now she's in Canada, so she's free. And I'm free too. You better let me go. These slave catchers are bounty hunters. They make money for bringing people back. They've lost a big part of their bounty. They said, well, you switched. Well, you gonna switch. We're gonna sell you. Make up what we lost with her. And Caroline French said, I'm from Detroit. Plus, I'm from the east side. Right. That is not gonna happen. When they walk out of the jail, there's 400 people outside. And those 400 people outside have bricks, sticks, knives, tree branches, poles. The Detroit Free Press, the newspaper, says some of them had swords, and of course some of them have guns. So now the sheriff, the deputy, slave catcher, they're armed, but it's 4 of them, and it's 400 armed people outside. They can do the math. If we shoot, then we die. And so the crowd is surrounded them. Thornton says, they're not gonna move for you, and they get more hostile by the moment. You better let me talk to them. They'll move for me. The deputy thinks that's a good idea. Yeah, let him talk to his people. Talk to your people. And Thornton stands up in the wagon and says, y'all couldn't hear me. They ain't hear Thornton either. And he says, what? The crowd moved in closer. What? The crowd moved in closer. They move in so close that Madison Lightfoot, Tabitha's husband, hands Thornton a gun. Thornton now has a gun in his hand. And Madison Lightfoot, who handed him the gun, said, shoot him, kill everybody. Because when he gets the gun in his hand, everybody's gonna hear what he says now. They couldn't hear him before, but now, y'all better let me go before I shoot somebody. And Madison Lightfoot said, shoot him, kill them all. Madison Lightfoot, who gave him the gun and said, shoot him, kill them all, it's Reverend Madison Lightfoot. Amen. Now, Thornton doesn't listen to the good Reverend. He shoots in the air. But doing that causes all kind of melee. And the crowd goes wild on the sheriff. Why him? He's the furthest away from Thornton's wagon. So they can launch everything they got in their hands at the sheriff and not worry about hitting Thornton. So the sheriff is now out. Now it's 3 against 400 because the sheriff is laid out on the corner of Gratiot and Farmer in downtown Detroit. So it's 3 against 400. It's about to be 2 against 400 because the deputy is out too. Not the same out, but he out. All the slave catchers can do is keep the crowd at bay. They can't even worry about what's going on with Thornton no more. They just got to keep the crowd from tearing them apart. The crowd takes Thornton, puts him on a wagon, bring him out to the river, put him on a boat, cross over to Canada, reunite him with his wife, and they both are free. And they clap for their freedom. President of the United States, Andrew Jackson. The governor of Michigan, Stevens T. Mason. And the mayor of Detroit, Marshall Chapin, request Canada to send them back because the sheriff has now died. He is dead. And they argue that they incited a riot that caused the death of a sheriff. That is a felony. America has an extradition treaty with Canada. They're felons. If your felons from Canada come to America, America says we're going to send them back. If our felons from America go over to Canada, Canada is supposed to send them back. Canada detained Thornton and Lucy Blackburn and held them in their detention until they go to their high court. The high court in Canada rules if we send them back to America, their slave owners are going to claim them. So before any punishment for that sheriff happens, the slave owners will say, hey, that's our property, we take them. Which means we be sending them back to slavery. Canada no longer has slavery. Canada had slavery, but Canada has recently ended slavery. The British Empire has ended slavery. And so now Canada says if we be sending them to a penalty that we don't have in our own country. So this becomes a legal precedent in Canada to this day. Canada will not send people back to face a penalty to another country, even if they have an extradition treaty with that country. Today, that applies to the death penalty. So if you flee in the country and you're facing the death penalty back home, Canada won't send you back to face the death penalty because Canada doesn't have a death penalty. But the reason why Canada has that as a legal precedent is because of what happened on June 17, 1833 in downtown Detroit. That uprising changed international law between the United States and Canada. And it makes Canada a major destination point on the Underground Railroad. It's a minor destination point prior to this. Sometimes people go there, but not much. But after this, this becomes a major site for people who are escaping from slavery. Detroit makes Canada a destination point on the Underground Railroad. The people who freed Thornton and Lucy Blackburn will go on to found Second Baptist Church, the oldest black church in the state of Michigan, stationed on the Underground Railroad. At least 4,000 people came through Second Baptist to get free. 30 churches come out of Second Baptist, including 2 in Canada, one of which is First Baptist Church of Sandwich, which is in Windsor today. When y'all cross over, y'all gonna be in Windsor. First Baptist Church is in Windsor. It's founded in 1841. Its first pastor is Reverend Madison Lightfoot, the man who handed Thornton the gun. Detroit's fight for freedom is what created the black community in the city of Detroit. That's how we became a black community in the city of Detroit, fighting this fight for freedom. Forget whatever else you heard. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.